August 6, 1945, 8:15 in the morning, Hiroshima, Japan, a 29-year-old engineer named Tsutomu Yamaguchi is walking toward the Mitsubishi shipyard. He's been in Hiroshima for 3 months on a business trip, marine engineering work, designing tankers. He's about to board a train home, but he realizes he's forgotten something. An identification stamp. He turns around to retrieve it. At that exact moment, 8:15 a.m., an aircraft drops a bomb from the sky. A blinding white flash fills the sky zone. An intense heat wave, a deafening explosion. Yamaguchi is thrown into a ditch. His clothes are burned. His skin is burned. His eardrums rupture. He becomes temporarily blind. He doesn't know what has happened. Doesn't understand that a single bomb has just destroyed an entire city. That tens of thousands of people have just died in an instant. 3 days later, after somehow making it home to Nagasaki despite his severe injuries, despite the chaos and destruction, it happens again. Another flash, another explosion, a second atomic bomb. How does one person survive the first atomic bomb ever used in warfare, only to find himself beneath the second one 3 days later? I'm Keith Conrad, and this is Sidequests. Today, it's Tsutomu Yamaguchi, a man who experienced the two most consequential moments in the atomic age, not as a soldier, not as a political leader, but as an ordinary engineer trying to get home from a business trip. His story reminds us that behind the grand historical narratives, behind the military strategy and political decisions, there are individual lives, ordinary people, whose experiences shaped how we understand these extraordinary events. Before the bombs, Tsutomu Yamaguchi was nobody special. He was a marine engineer for Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, a company employee, a husband, a father. He lived in Nagasaki, a coastal city in southwestern Japan, a port city, a place where ships were built and commerce happened. In the summer of 1945, his company sends him to Hiroshima on a business trip. 3 months, working on tanker design, engineering specifications, the routine work of someone trying to do their job. Like millions of Japanese civilians in August 1945, Yamaguchi's greatest concerns are practical. Food is scarce, rationed, there are air raids. American bombers have been hitting Japanese cities for months, but people adapt. People become accustomed to danger, they go about their lives because what else can you do? Yamaguchi works, does his job, waits for his business trip to end so he can return home. Nothing suggests he will become part of history. Nothing suggests that his ordinary life is about to become extraordinary. August 6, 1945. Morning. Yamaguchi finishes his work at the Mitsubishi shipyard in Hiroshima. It's been a productive morning. He's planning to board a train that afternoon. He leaves the shipyard. He begins walking toward the railway station. He notices something odd. The sky. There's an unusual quietness, a peculiar light. Then at 8:15 a.m., he experiences something that his mind cannot initially process. A flash, brighter than anything, brighter than the sun, a white light that fills everything. An intense heat wave so hot that it burns exposed skin. His clothes catch fire, his skin chars. A sound, an explosion so loud that it ruptures eardrums, destroys hearing, creates a pressure wave that throws people through the air. Yamaguchi is knocked down, thrown into a ditch by the force of the blast. He lies there, burned, bleeding, temporarily blinded by the intensity of the flash. His body is in shock. His mind is in shock. He doesn't understand what has happened. As his vision slowly returns, as he regains some sense of what's around him, he sees a city transformed into something unimaginable. Buildings that were standing seconds ago are now flattened, reduced to rubble. Fires are spreading across the landscape. Survivors wander through the destruction like ghosts. Burned, injured, in shock. It's apocalyptic. It's incomprehensible. Yamaguchi spends the night in Hiroshima, in the chaos, in the darkness, among the dying and the dead. He doesn't fully understand what has happened. Doesn't know that a single bomb dropped from a single aircraft has destroyed an entire city, that the population of Hiroshima has been decimated in an instant. He just knows that something catastrophic has occurred, that the world has changed. Despite his injuries, severe burns, ruptured eardrums, temporary blindness, Yamaguchi needs to get home. His wife is there. His child is there. He needs to get back. He makes his way to the railway station, and what's remarkable, and this is one of the lesser-known aspects of the atomic bomb's aftermath, is that rail service somehow resumes remarkably quickly after the bombing. Despite the catastrophic destruction, despite the collapse of normal society, some basic infrastructure functions, some trains run, some rail lines work. Yamaguchi boards a train, severely injured, bandaged, but alive. The train journey to Nagasaki takes him through a devastated landscape, through a nation in collapse, but he boards it. He stays on it. He makes it home. It's a journey through hell, but he survives it. He arrives in Nagasaki, battered, burned, changed forever by what he witnessed in Hiroshima, but alive. August 9th, 1945, 3 days later. Yamaguchi is still bandaged, still healing from the injuries he sustained in Hiroshima. Against his supervisor's objections, he goes to work, reports to Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, shows up for his job. His supervisors listen to his description of Hiroshima, try to comprehend what he's telling them. An entire city destroyed by a single bomb, tens of thousands dead, the landscape transformed. They struggle to believe it. It seems impossible. One bomb destroying a city, he tries to explain, tries to make them understand the magnitude of what he witnessed. Then around 11:02 a.m., something that should be impossible happens again. Another flash, another explosion, the sky lights up, the ground shakes. Another atomic bomb has detonated, this time over Nagasaki. Fat Man, the plutonium bomb. Yamaguchi, having just survived Hiroshima 3 days earlier, now survives Nagasaki. His home is damaged, his family is nearby when it happens, but miraculously, impossibly, they survive. What are the odds of being in two cities when atomic bombs are dropped on both? Historians have estimated that several hundred people were present in both Hiroshima and Nagasaki on those dates. Several hundred, but most of them died in one of the bombings or the other, or from radiation sickness in the weeks and months that followed. Tsutomu Yamaguchi is unique not because he was in both cities, others were, but because he survived both bombings with relatively minor injuries. He was injured, burned, his hearing was damaged, but he lived. Years later, in 2009, the Japanese government formally recognizes him as a survivor of both atomic bombings. The only person to receive this official recognition, Tsutomu Yamaguchi becomes history's most famous person to experience both atomic bombs. The atomic bombs were dropped on August 6th and August 9th, 1945. Japan surrendered August 15th, 1945. The war was over. But for Yamaguchi and for the thousands of Hibakusha atomic bomb survivors, the aftermath was far from over. His body dealt with long-term health effects, radiation-related illnesses. His hearing was permanently damaged. His skin carried scars from the burns. But the physical injuries were only part of it. The psychological trauma was profound. He'd witnessed the destruction of an entire city, had survived an experience that was designed to kill, had seen human beings vaporized, burned, broken. There was also social stigma. In post-war Japan, atomic bomb survivors faced discrimination. Some employers wouldn't hire them. Some people feared they were contaminated, feared exposure to radiation. Yamaguchi, despite being a survivor, despite having endured something almost unimaginable, faced exclusion. For many years, he didn't speak publicly about his experience, kept it private, tried to move forward with his life. He continued working for Mitsubishi, continued building his life, continued being an ordinary person, but the experience of surviving 2 atomic bombs was always with him, always part of who he was. In his later years, Yamaguchi became an advocate for nuclear disarmament. He began speaking publicly about his experience, about what it was like to survive the atomic bombs, about what nuclear weapons do to human beings. His message wasn't political revenge, wasn't about blaming America or demanding justice. His message was simpler and more profound. No one should ever experience what he had. Nuclear weapons should be abolished. No other city should face what Hiroshima and Nagasaki faced. He spoke at universities, at conferences, to journalists, to anyone who would listen. He became the face of atomic bomb survivors, the embodiment of the human cost of nuclear weapons. In 2009, when Japan formally recognized him as a survivor of both bombings, he had become famous, known, a living testimony to the power and horror of atomic weapons. When we discuss Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we often focus on certain things. Military strategy, why the bombs were dropped, whether they were necessary to end the war, casualty figures, 200,000 dead in an instant, or over time from radiation sickness, political and diplomatic consequences, the beginning of the atomic age, the nuclear arms race that followed, the Cold War. All of those are important. All of those deserve attention and analysis, but they can also make the events feel abstract, historical, distant. Numbers are easier to discuss than human experience. Military strategy is easier to analyze than personal trauma, but Tsutomu Yamaguchi reminds us that behind every major historical event are individual lives, ordinary people whose experiences were forever changed by forces beyond their control. He wasn't a general making strategic decisions, wasn't a politician choosing to drop the bomb, wasn't a scientist designing the weapon. He was simply an engineer, trying to do his job, trying to get home to his family. Caught in the machinery of history, history textbooks will tell you that atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki on August 6th and August 9th, 1945, that they killed hundreds of thousands, that they ended the war, that they began the nuclear age. All true, but Tsutomu Yamaguchi's story tells us something different, something personal. It tells us what it felt like to be there, to experience a detonation so powerful it vaporizes an entire city in an instant, to survive it and then face it again 3 days later. It tells us about the long-term consequences, the burns that never fully heal, the hearing that never returns, the nightmares that never stop. It tells us about resilience, about a man who survived the unsurvivable, who continued living, who built a life, who raised a family, and it tells us about commitment to preventing this from happening again. Yamaguchi's later advocacy for nuclear disarmament came from a place of genuine understanding. He knew what nuclear weapons could do. He had felt it, had lived through it. Tsutomu Yamaguchi died in 2010 at age 93. He lived a full life after surviving 2 atomic bombs, far longer than many survivors. But the bombs shaped everything about his life, his identity, his advocacy, his message to the world. Today, more than 75 years after the bombings, we live in a world where thousands of nuclear weapons exist, where nations possess the ability to destroy civilization many times over. Yamaguchi's story reminds us what those weapons can do, not in abstract terms, not in military strategy, but in human terms. What does it feel like to be beneath an atomic bomb when it detonates? Yamaguchi survived it twice and lived to tell us. August 6, 1945, a blinding white flash, an intense heat wave, an explosion that destroys a city. 3 days later, the same thing happens again. One man survives both. Tsutomu Yamaguchi, an ordinary engineer, an ordinary person caught in extraordinary circumstances. His story reminds us that history isn't just about military decisions and political strategy. It's about the people who experience those decisions, who live through the consequences. It's about a man trying to get home from a business trip who ends up surviving the 2 most consequential moments in the atomic age. His story reminds us why we should hope that atomic bombs are never used again, why we should work toward a world without nuclear weapons. Because Tsutomu Yamaguchi experienced that world, and he spent the rest of his life trying to prevent anyone else from having to experience it. I'm Keith Conrad. Thanks for listening to Sidequests.